It's time for the Daily Planet podcast show. So sit back, relax, and give us a go. Scott and Matt and maybe a guest, undertaking an epic pod quest. We're gonna ramble on about movies and books and television and directors and film festivals and this really long list of stuff that I know nothing about, but they gave it to me and they really wanted me to read through it. And that's all I can really say about it, but it's gonna be great. Okay, start the show.
I mean, we don't have to start exactly.
And we're live.
It's editing.
We're live.
We are not actually
We
live.
can talk about what we did on the airplane.
What? I was not on an airplane.
I watched Thor Ragnarok.
All right, let's get started.
Okay.
Ready? Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Daily Planet podcast. It's probably sounding a little bit different, and that's for a very important reason. Because for the first time in the history of our podcast, for episode 100, we are all in the same room together.
That's right, Scott. It's been approximately 12 years since I saw you.
Yeah. And I'm looking into your eyes.
I'm looking
right
into
now.
your eyes as well.
It's beautiful eyes.
The weirdest part about this is that it doesn't feel like it's been 12 years since I was in the same room with you. It feels like we're like, oh yeah, hey Scott, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am Scott Daly. You are Matt Freeman.
And
also,
we have with
also
us
here.
today.
Michael Grubb.
And Elyse Daily.
Yeah, it's all of us here,
All in
except
your
for Daniel.
Daniel-
Unfortunately, Daniel is busy being married.
Yeah, that's right. It's very time consuming being married. So
Yeah, so we are at the Gaylord Texan in Grapevine, Texas, which is about 30 minutes away from where I live and about 10 minutes away from where I grew up.
yeah.
But your brother Daniel, frequent podcast guest, got married this weekend. So everyone came here for it. And we thought, since it's our 100th episode and we're all here, we might as well pull up a chair and record a podcast. And I don't know how this is going to sound. We're in a very big room. It's very echoey. We're further away from the mics than we usually are. There's waterfalls in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know whether anyone can hear that stuff or not, but we're just going to pretend like this is going to sound great because we're here.
Yeah, it's cool. We also, unlike most episodes, we usually have some idea what we're going to talk about going into it. And really just, I think we just thought this was such a cool occasion that we couldn't let it pass by.
Yeah, we're just going to be spitballing.
Scott, what happened in the news this week?
Oh no.
Did more things happen this week?
They did. More things happened as I frantically opened my phone to check them.
Yeah.
There was definitely some movie news this week.
Black Panther.
Black Panther became the highest grossing comic book movie ever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, domestic gross.
Domestic.
Passed the Avengers at $623 million domestic. So good job, Black Panther.
I also heard that Deadpool is apparently going to be good, unlike the previous news that I'd heard.
Yeah, there was previous news that said Deadpool tested poorly, and they were frantically doing reshoots. And now the news is that Deadpool tested great, and the reshoots were just for a minor cameo appearance, which is interesting because they did reshoots for 6 weeks. And that's a long time for a cameo.
Yeah.
So
Seems like we're not hearing something, but
I think you're right.
I would have been surprised if it was downright bad, honestly.
Either way, a new trailer came out for it this week, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Other news. Did you know that Netflix originals are now barred from competing at the Cannes Film Festival?
Oh no.
Why is that?
So Cannes, the French film festival, one of the biggest and most well-renowned film festivals, is filled with a bunch of elitist assholes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Who would have thought?
they have basically decided that they want to be the arbiters of culture, and they want to push cinema over home viewing experiences. So in order to do that, they will not let anything that does not appear in a movie theater compete.
Huh.
Which is all the Netflix movies, because they usually, with a couple of exceptions, Netflix usually does not run any of their movies in a theater. If they do, it'll be like LA, New York, like one weekend shows. And so, what's your opinion on this, Matt? Because
I feel like they could, number one, if Netflix wanted to, they could just game this and be like, all right, well, all of our movies we're now putting out in one, or we're putting in whatever the minimum number of theaters is.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't cost them that much to do that. On the other hand, they might just decide, screw you guys, I'm going home.
That's my interpretation is I don't think Netflix gives a shit.
Yeah.
I don't think they care.
I think Netflix could just start their own award ceremony and then like make Cannes obsolete.
Well, the interesting thing about this is like Cannes has not banned them from showing at the thing. They just like the Cannes Film Festival has a pretty robust like Best in Show and Best Director and the Palme d'Or and all these awards, and they cannot compete in the film festival. They can still show there. So like, first of all, I don't think Netflix cares. Second of all, it's not going to stop people from seeing these movies and the buzz from Cannes being created at these movies. They just don't get to put the pretty fleur-de-lis like thing on their movie that says this won at Cannes.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have it on there anyway, right?
Because it's
They might.
They don't ever make an actual box release of the movie.
Well, yeah, but
and it's never on the picture.
That's a good
so
point.
who really cares?
Netflix doesn't care.
Yeah.
But I think this raises a good like cultural question about when is a film a film? Is a made-for-TV movie still a movie? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But obviously the Cannes Film Festival thinks no. And Steven Spielberg actually agreed with them and said that if you're not running your movie in cinemas for more than just those weekend engagements, then it should not. He thinks they should not be eligible for Oscars.
There's been a long-standing condescension of TV things by movie people, whereas I think nowadays actually it's TV's better, like in a lot of ways.
I think you're right. And I think there's a lot of people in the film world pretty frustrated at the idea that they struggle really hard to get things made in the studio system. Studios don't want to make a $50 million movie that has limited appeal. They want to make the big tentpole movies. And then you have someone will go to Netflix, and Netflix will just be like, yeah, here's $100 million, because Netflix doesn't care and just throws money at everything. So to someone who's been in that studio system for their entire life, like Steven Spielberg, it's probably pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I think they have not come to grips with the fact that Netflix is going to be disruptive in a way that they won't bounce back from. I mean, I've heard people talking about the death of cinema and just, the idea that cinemas are going to be closing. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds plausible.
Yeah.
Certainly, I mean, for me personally, I used to see a lot more movies, and it's just so easy for me to say, I'll catch it on Netflix. I'll catch it when it comes to Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the other issues is the reason why, as much as I like Steven Spielberg, I push against this sentiment is the idea that there are a lot of very young filmmakers getting movies made that they never would have gotten made in the studio system. There are these small, interesting stories that aren't being told in theaters anymore. So they're finding a place on Netflix and on Amazon and on Hulu and stuff like that because those companies are willing to take chances on them and invest in them. And if you just take that away because Steven Spielberg doesn't think they should win awards, I think you're robbing people of a lot of good cinema.
Yeah, whenever you make an artistic medium more available, then I think you always get new, better advances in things.
I completely agree.
Yeah. And
Elyse, how do you feel?
As we're talking, I noticed that I'm nodding instead of saying yes, which is
because we're in person. Because we're in person. This is so weird. Yeah. It strikes to a sense of the old guard panicking as their way is torn down. Yeah. And I love movie theaters. I think everyone should go to the movie theater. I think experiencing a movie in a theater is still a very unique experience versus watching it on your TV at home. Even if it's a big TV with a good sound system, I think they are unique experiences. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and say, I'm sorry, Okja was only on Netflix, so that doesn't count as a film because it only was on Netflix. It's just why? Why would you make that distinction? HBO has been making movies made for TV for a while now, and they're often quite good. Mm-hmm. So TV is changing, TV is different, and we're going to get to see cool stories that would not have been made if the only output was a movie theater.
Yeah. That's the coolest part about kind of the modern era is there's just so much stuff now, and so much of it is good, and so much of it is more niche, less broad appeal, actually. Yeah. So you're more likely to find like your thing. You know, I can't imagine, like, I have mixed feelings about Altered Carbon, but I can't imagine anything like Altered Carbon being made 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
and the flip side of that is Blade Runner 2049 did get made, and it underperformed terribly to the point where I don't know if a studio pulls the trigger on that.
Yeah.
And that was a different, weird kind of movie that had the franchise backing, had the name recognition, had Harrison Ford, and it still underperformed. So it's like...
Yeah. But if it was released on Netflix, it probably would have been touted as a success because it got a lot of critical acclaim.
I'm sure you're right. Because when that Netflix movie Bright came out, which was a terrible movie, but Netflix like bragged about how Netflix barely releases their numbers. They keep their numbers very secret, so you don't know what's going on. But for this one, they did say a certain amount of people watched it, and they said if every single one of those people that watched the movie on Netflix the opening weekend went out to see that movie in the theater, it would have made $180 million over the weekend, which is, of course, kind of a dumb comparison because there's a big difference between sitting on your couch and turning on your TV and driving to a movie theater.
For something that you've already paid for.
Yeah.
Or in my case, turning it on and then cleaning my house and being in different rooms while it played. So.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right that if Blade Runner was released on Netflix, they would have used that kind of stuff as a win, but it's really apples and oranges type of comparison. But, yeah, I don't know what else to say about this.
Yeah.
I still want to go to Cannes one day, but it's the French's fault.
Yeah.
No, but I was very, like, Steven Spielberg as a pop director, like, makes pop films.
Yeah.
And to see him kind of carry that elitism was a bit surprising for me, especially since he's about to release Ready Player One. But I guess that movie is about cultural gatekeeping, so
interesting.
There you go.
Maybe this was one of those offhand comments that he didn't think too hard about, and now
that's very possible. It's very possible. All right, that's all I have for the news this week. Let's talk about, I don't know, Matt. What did you do on the airplane on the way here?
I watched Thor Ragnarok again,
and
I found that it held up. Still my favorite Marvel movie.
That's fair. Michael, you've never seen that movie for reasons.
I've never seen it. I'm currently in the middle of a boycott. I don't know if you've heard about it.
I have not.
Where I'm not watching any of the Marvel films or superhero films in general unless they have Legos or trains in them.
Or they appear on television.
Okay. Or I just decide that it doesn't count.
That's fair.
That's the best kind of boycott.
Yeah. But morally, I'm taking a stand against superhero movies.
Okay. So Matt, I need to get you a digital copy of the movie though, because I think you're gonna love Taika Waititi's director's commentary.
Okay.
It is. Director's commentaries can be very mixed bag. Sometimes they're not very interesting. Sometimes they have a lot of interesting insight, and sometimes it's just a director with a personality like Waititi, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. He's funny throughout. He does explain some stuff, but he's like making jokes. And like at one point his daughter walks in the room, and like so he starts talking to his daughter while the movie's playing, and it ends with her basically saying, "Can we watch Frozen now?" So it was really good. It was definitely worth listening to.
Yeah. Hey, we could do an episode about director's commentaries sometime.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I like them a lot.
Yeah,
because
I remember.
Lord of the Rings was my first big experience with getting into special features on DVDs. And I watched every second of bonus or
every night.
Well, no.
I did too, and then I later regretted it because I would always just be watching the movie and be like, "That's a model." I see what was CGI and what was composited in this shot.
No, but I mean, those movies hit in a time. When did the first one come out? 2000. We were still in high school.
Yeah, it must have been 2000 or 2001 or something.
So that was probably the first time in my life I really started paying attention to the craft behind the film. Like I always liked movies. I liked watching movies, but I never really paid attention to like how it was done. And I was so interested in those movies that that's like the first time I started to pay attention to that stuff. So
yeah. I always remember I read online somewhere someone said you shouldn't watch Fight Club every day for a week solid, and I took this as a challenge. So I did that, but I watched a different like commentary each time. So it was like director and then like a couple of the actors and get some interesting insight into it. Of course, this was still when I was like 18 and was not interpreting the movie correctly.
So you were pro Tyler Durden.
I was pro Tyler.
Well, start fight clubs everywhere.
I don't even know if it was nearly that coherent. It was just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Good old Fight Club. Check out episode for our Fight Club discussion.
I think it's the third one. I think it's episode 3.
Yeah.
This is the first time we had Daniel on.
Yeah.
I think
you're right.
Michael, have you watched anything lately?
I did.
What?
I watched The Shape of Water, which you may not know is an Oscar award-winning film.
Yeah, the best picture.
So it was in a movie theater.
I didn't watch it in a movie theater.
It's out on DVD.
I watched it on a television screen.
What did you think, Michael?
It didn't really work for me.
I think that's a better way of putting it than you put it to me first.
Well, whenever I describe a movie to you that I've recently watched and I know you enjoy, I tend to be a little hyperbolic.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get a reaction.
I've noticed that.
And it never fails to work.
It's true.
But my comment I think that I made to you was like, I think it walks a fine line between being something that's interesting and something that is just like ridiculous and you don't necessarily buy it. It's depending on if you buy the thing. And I didn't buy the thing. So I just kind of felt like the whole movie fell apart since I didn't buy the thing.
I'm shaking my head disappointingly at you right now.
I think it's a fair criticism.
I mean, it's
kind of
tale.
It is a fairy tale, but it's also pretty absurd. I felt like they sold it better in Beauty and the Beast. Maybe because you had the
same story.
You kind of had the narration of the teapot and the candle, who were kind of telling you the things through songs.
So Shape of Water needed a teapot and a candle, and it would have been better.
It needed something.
Like, I think you're
Remember when he ate the cat?
That was spoilers.
Yeah, he ate a cat, and then there was like a scene where they were like kind of pretending they were in a dancing movie. And
that was in her mind.
Yeah.
She wants to express the way she's feeling, but she can't talk because she's mute. So she goes into a musical number in her head because she loves old Hollywood musical numbers. And it was a beautiful sequence.
I didn't like it.
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, I didn't. Better. She just suddenly started eating lunch with the fish monster.
Yeah,
and
because
then
he was an outcast, and so was she, and ignored and trodden on. And she recognized a kindred
She was
spirit,
friends with the other lady,
who was also outcast. Everyone in this movie, all the main characters, are people that have been outcast by society and treated as less than their worth. She, because she's the other cleaning lady, because she's black. The guy, because he's gay. Her, because she's mute. And this fish monster, because he's a fish monster.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he is a fish monster.
Yeah, but he's... I don't want to talk about this anymore.
And also, some logistical stuff in the ending to complain about.
Okay, well, I don't know if we want to spoil the ending of the movie.
Okay, spoilers for Shape of Water.
The cat gets eaten.
Wait, I can't turn off.
Matt has not seen the movie
He's
yet.
not going to see it.
Yeah, he is.
It's not worth it.
I'm sure I will.
All right, cover your ears.
Okay.
So like the fish monster's dying in the bathtub, right? Because he's weak. And then they go to the ocean, and he gets shot with a bunch of bullets, and then he revives himself, and he hasn't gone in the water yet, so you can't say like the seawater is the source of his power. And then he just revives from the bullets.
I don't think he revived himself. I think he just gathered his strength and for one last-ditch effort to get into the water with the woman.
No, he was fine because he stood up.
Once he got into the water,
he walked over to the man, and then he swiped his throat off.
Yeah.
And then he went over to the lady and he healed her or something. I don't remember. That part was boring.
He didn't heal her till they got into the water.
Okay. But he was fine. He carried her into the water.
Yeah.
Because he was perfectly fine.
It's called the power of love.
And you don't see how that might be hard to buy.
No. You're already in a movie where a mute woman falls in love with an Amazonian fish guy.
See, I feel like just by this description...
Saying, he got shot 3 times and didn't die.
I feel like just by that description...
I lost my suspension of disbelief.
You have to concede that a movie about a fish monster and a mute woman falling in love might you might have to be hard to buy.
It's a fairy tale, Michael. It's fairy tales.
But a fairy tale is the start. Once upon a time, there was a fish monster.
Why?
I've never heard that one. It's always like a relatable character who lives with their step-parents.
Yeah, and in Lord of the Rings, where did the orcs come from anyway? I mean, that's never really satisfactorily explained, and that really took me out of the film.
Well, see, I think with the orcs, they were elves or something.
No, that's true, but it's not explained in the film, so it's a plot hole, you see?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Well, I'm glad I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah.
About him getting shot.
It's okay. You're going to like the movie.
It doesn't spoil anything.
I don't really care about spoilers.
It's not important.
Yes.
Elyse.
Yeah.
You haven't said much.
No, I'm just soaking everything in.
What have you been watching, Elyse?
I don't know. What have I been watching?
I don't know.
We've
been watching that.
You were watching
show.
This Is Us.
I've been watching the Great British Bake Off.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Talk
gosh.
to me about the Great British Bake Off.
It's great reality TV.
What is
British
it
people
about?
are so funny. It's a baking show, and so they're just trying to.
The important thing is they bake in a tent.
They do.
Why outside in a tent?
Which makes it really hard to do ice cream.
Yeah,
The
they're making ice
melts.
cream in the summer in a tent.
That's why it's a challenge.
I see.
Anyone could have made the ice cream in a walk-in freezer.
Yeah.
I will say something about the show. I have not seen as many episodes as Elyse has. There was one episode where they were making ice cream.
A baked Alaska.
They were making a baked Alaska
Delicious dessert.
in a tent outside for some reason. And this one guy puts his ice cream in the freezer, and then someone else later needs to put her ice cream in a freezer, and they just take his out and leave it out, and it melts.
Ooh, that's
and
not
he
really.
gives up.
That's not
And,
really in the spirit of the Great British Bake Off.
I think this is just because they're British, but he doesn't get mad at them. He's just bummed that his ice cream is melted. I'm like, someone just
I'm sure he
destroyed
probably
you.
apologized.
In America, we blame other people.
Yeah, in America, he would have been yelling at everyone else in that thing about taking his ice cream.
It's the American
and
spirit.
it's never mentioned. It's the one was like, sorry, I took it out. And then it's just the judges don't mention it. The guy never mentioned it again. He goes home.
Interesting.
And then the next week, the lady that took the ice cream out got sick and left the show. So had they done the,
So
he
karma's a
poisoned
bitch.
her.
Later.
He poisoned her.
I hope he did. That would have been fun.
For an American show, that would be the whole episode. Would be about this event.
Well, it is interesting to watch the difference between British reality TV and American reality TV because we hype it up with dramatic music a lot. There's really loud drama, drums and tones, and the Great British Bake Off is just
I love it.
Yeah, but it's its own thing. I mean, the UK did give us Big Brother. Let's not forget.
But I feel like the UK Big Brother would be really different from ours. And it's like that one show we watched. What was the name of that show? We watched a game show while we were in London over the summer.
Oh.
The Chase?
The Chase, yes.
Yeah, we have that here now.
Yeah.
It's awful here.
But that's my point. The Chase in Britain was just hey, here's a show where people answer questions and are smart. And then we took it to America, and the music is turned up to 11, and they've renamed the chaser the Beast. And it's just come on.
Yeah, it's hard to buy a beast, just like it's kind of hard to buy a fish monster.
Okay. So I guess...
and I've been watching MasterChef Junior.
Okay.
I like that too. I like cooking reality shows.
Is that the one with Gordon Ramsay Jr.?
And Christina Tosi.
They both MasterChef and Junior have Gordon. But he's way less mean to the children for some reason.
They need to have be stern person, young.
I agree.
They need to what?
He needs to be a jerk to the kids.
How will they learn?
Sometimes.
No. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I hope he cusses them out.
Yeah.
What have you seen, Scott?
What have I seen? I've been watching Santa Clarita Diet Season 2.
How does it compare to Season 1?
I see. These Netflix shows are good, but forgettable.
Right.
So, thank God they put, the Season 1 recap before the second season starts playing, because I kind of
Sometimes they're really unhelpful, though.
Yeah, sometimes they leave out things that they think they should focus more on.
Yeah. I remember the Season 1 recap of Jessica Jones was just remember that Jessica Jones has a personality where she doesn't get along with people, and then they don't actually refresh you on any of the plot points.
Yeah.
So when that soldier character showed up, I was just like, I don't remember who the soldier character is.
Yeah, they kind of didn't show him at all, did they? Yeah, it's good. It's one of those 10 episode, 30-minute things that like goes by so fast that I think it's enjoyable the whole time. Drew Barrymore's good. I think we talked about this, last year, you and I, Michael. And I think we both kind of liked the first season. I think we both said that Timothy Olyphant is the best part of the season, like how he handles all the crazy zombie stuff that's happening in his life. And I think that continues on in this season too. He's really, really great. Their daughter's friend, who is like the guy that helps them with all the zombie-ness, is pretty good too.
He's also good in a movie called Vacation.
That's not. It's not a good movie.
It's funny.
Timothy Olyphant was also good in a show called Justified.
And what?
Justified?
I never saw that.
It was good. He was a character.
It's a different role, though, right?
It's
not a comedy.
It's not well, in some ways. It's not strictly a comedy.
Okay.
It has, what's his name? Walter Goggins?
He's good.
He's really good, especially in this show.
I love Walter.
He plays a character.
Is it Walter or Walton? I think it's Walton.
It might be Walton.
Walton Goggins was in Tomb Raider.
The new one?
Played a nasty character.
Yeah, he was the bad guy.
He's good at playing those nasty.
I think he's the new that German guy who was in as a bad guy for a while.
That German guy.
Yeah, from Inglourious Bastards. Christopher Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
He was briefly the in vogue bad guy. They used him in like a Bond movie, and
everyone used him terribly.
Yeah, they all used him terribly, except for his first character. And then I feel like Walton Goggins is the new where they're like, oh, he's done a good job here, and then they don't.
Yeah, but he's very. There's an HBO show called Vice Principals that Walton Goggins was on, funny. And he was great. He was great in it.
We also watched Love.
The
last season of Love.
Final season of Love. An LA romantic comedy, because there aren't enough of those. That's the Judd Apatow one. It stars... why am I blanking on her name?
I don't know her name.
The girl from Community. Dang it, Elyse.
Allison?
No, not Allison Brie, the other one.
I don't know.
Her name's Mickey in the show.
That's not helpful. Gillian Jacobs, and Paul Rust. It's a really funny show. I liked it a lot. It's another one of those 10 episodes, 30-minute things that goes by really fast and was enjoyable the whole time. It's one of the better LA romantic comedies I've seen, which has become a whole subgenre.
Why is LA romantic comedy specifically?
Because it's a show that centers around the world of making television and film. And
this all sounds very self-absorbed.
Yeah, well, write what you know, Michael.
That's true.
I mean, it's not... It's dealing with other things. It's dealing with depression and addiction. And only half of the cast is involved in the world of television, and it's kind of in an insulting kind of way. Like the show within the show is called Wichita, and it's basically like a riff on like a CW like witches show, and they spend a lot of time making fun of it.
That's actually a great idea for a show.
It's a funny show, but it's over. There's 3 seasons, which is good. I think the characters are starting. I think it was right on the cusp of it starting to get a little stale and a little run out of ideas. There's only so many times you can do they're fighting and then they're happy and then they're fighting
right
before it gets a little old.
That's true.
Yeah, we don't like that.
We've all agreed.
Yeah, artificial conflict.
Yeah. All right, so how long have we been going, Michael?
We've been going for 28 minutes and 22 seconds.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Just bullshitting out in this microphone.
Yeah. Hope you've gotten really good at it in 100 episodes. we should of course clarify this is only 100 episodes of the main Daily Planet show. Right. When you count everything together, it's probably closer to like
more than that.
200. Honestly.
Well, the thing is, the thing about this is I've changed how we count things over the time. So there are back when we first started doing the other type of shows, like I would count Phantom Zone as it would be Phantom Zone number 3, but then if we were on Daily Planet 50, then the next one would be Daily Planet 52. So it both did and didn't count, and I think I did the same for Kryptonian Collection. So
So there's no way of ever determining how many podcasts we've actually done.
No, but there's no list of them that is easily countable.
But canonically declared, this is the 100th episode.
This will say episode 100. Yeah. And one of the things before we go, I wanted to do, because the three of you, sorry, Elyse, the two of you, and me, I was counting myself in the three of you. We were in the very first episode of this podcast.
Did you know Elyse when you recorded the first episode?
I did. We were dating.
You were dating?
We were dating.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually the creative genius behind most things.
That's not true. But yeah, so our very first episode 1 of the Daily Planet podcast, or it was called at the time the Weekly Planet, because I thought that would be funny. Uh-huh. And then we learned very quickly that a Weekly Planet podcast already exists, and it is a much bigger than us comic book podcast.
Yeah.
So we couldn't use that name. And I think by episode 4, we had to change it. Yeah. But the very first episode was that. I don't even think we were on iTunes yet. We were still hosting directly through our website.
Yeah, which we weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And those of you who've been fans with us all along will remember that sometimes you maybe couldn't get the episodes because our website would be crashed.
Yeah. And we would always, in the middle of the day, our website would go down and we couldn't figure out why. And it's because we were storing multiple megabytes worth of sound data just on the website when we weren't supposed to.
Yeah, it was basically in the terms of service that we weren't actually, but
yeah.
It didn't stop us.
And we would email them and complain about the fact that our website keeps going down, not knowing that we were brazenly breaking the rules. But that very first episode, guys, we talked about Christopher Nolan.
No,
we destructed him. That was our very first deconstructing.
Yeah.
Which is a series, Matt, I want to do again. I think we need to prioritize that a little bit and work that into the schedule.
Yeah, I always learn a lot about.
Yeah, those are really fun to do.
Yeah.
But the very first one we did Christopher Nolan, and in preparation for this gala event, I went back and listened to some of that podcast. We've gotten a lot better, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not just talking about like the most stark differences, and this is probably a bad episode to mention this in because the sound quality is probably going to be terrible, but the sound quality back then was not good.
Yeah.
I was recording you guys off of Skype, so any kind of computer noise or Skype delay that made electronic signals is caught. I wasn't doing anything to the audio file. I literally just took it, dumped it into GarageBand, dumped an intro, and I don't even think we had an outro in the first one. And I just exported that to an MP3 and threw you the file, and we put it up.
And for a long period of time, I didn't have a recording situation where I wasn't going to wake up my kids, so I would be in my closet.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
just bring a chair into my closet with my iPhone mic, and that's something to be said for just starting something before you're ready to do it.
I think so, because basically what we did was we recorded one practice episode where you and I talked about the book, The Martian, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's all we did. Is we just said, okay, let's try it once. Let's listen back to it. If it's unbearably terrible, say we're not ready, and go on. And it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But it was good enough.
Yeah.
All this being said, Michael sounds exactly the same.
Do I?
Yeah. I mean, my voice is much more monotone in the first one. I feel like I'm sick, but I might just be making an excuse up to why my voice is kind of very flat and just very not a lot of energy behind it. You were in a closet, Matt, so that makes sense why you sounded a lot different.
Yeah, I think it was more self-consciousness and we're not sure what we're doing and I don't know, people are going to be listening to this. I have to watch my words more carefully or something. Yeah. Something that has dropped away.
Yeah, we don't care about that anymore. Yeah. But not Michael. Michael never cared. Because Michael sounds exactly... And in fact, I think it's funny, you and I we weren't good at directing the flow of the conversation yet and moving on to new things. And as I was listening to this, I saw Michael do it. Michael is the conversation was dying, and Michael would just jump in and say, okay, is this a good way to move on to this? And I just saw you kind of take over and do it, and it needed to be done. Yeah. I remember a lot of those early episodes, things would just go on and on and on and on without cutting to a new thing.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting experience because I think a lot of what makes our podcast good, at least in my mind, I think it's good, or I wouldn't do it. I think you can see the basis of it there. We're just not there yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is something to be said for getting used to sitting in front of a microphone talking, and that takes a while.
Yeah, right. Just like you said, the going on and on, it's like you don't quite know how to think and talk at the same time yet.
Right.
And now we're all good at that now.
Still can be better though. There's definitely times where we start sentences not knowing how to finish them, and then never figure it out.
Yeah.
And the sentence just dies.
Yeah. I think I don't know if we'll ever get that good to avoid that.
If I recall, I was the primary defender of Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is your role on the show has shifted mightily since that first day.
I feel like I'm always the voice of positivity.
That's what I always go to Michael for.
Yeah. That's what you're known as, the positive one.
Oh, excellent.
But I do look back, and I was pretty hard on Christopher Nolan in that podcast, and I like him a lot more than I did at the time. I just really didn't like Interstellar, and I think I used my dislike of Interstellar to retroactively trash everything he's done, which was probably not fair. Have you both seen Dunkirk? Or just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a really good movie. So he's, in my mind, Christopher Nolan has bounced back.
I thought Interstellar was fine.
It is a bad movie. It's a real
fine.
bad movie. It's
fine.
a mess.
Remember that scene on the planet with gravity? That was great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cool concept, but
And then he comes back.
And then he watches the video of his children grow up.
yeah.
And
You have no heart, sir. You have no heart.
Remember when love is the space science?
Have you not heard of the theory of
Look, if a mute
love?
woman and a fish person can fall in love.
Yeah, but the problem was those movies are set up like Shape of Water is set up as a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Interstellar is set up as a science fiction movie.
Fairy tale.
No, it's absolutely not. I don't want to relitigate that movie. It's bad though.
Now I want to write something about how Interstellar is a fairy tale.
Yeah.
I think you had an Interstellar. You were going to write an Interstellar essay at one point.
I'll check my drafts.
Yeah.
I may have started this before.
What are you doing, Elyse? Elyse is reading the Discord while we're podcasting.
That's good.
Trying to go back and do it.
I need to get on a plane relatively soon, so
Yeah, I think this is probably a good time to cut it off.
yeah.
Just a fun little episode. Happy 100 episodes, guys.
Happy
to all
100
those
episodes.
listening out there that maybe have listened to those 100 episodes, maybe have not. It's been fun, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for
Been a lot
sticking
of
with
fun.
us.
Happy wedding, Daniel.
Yeah, happy wedding, Daniel, if
wedding.
you're listening to this. Thanks for having us all here. Thank you, Gaylord, for putting up with us. We had to close a lot of doors that I don't know if we were allowed to.
Yeah.
But
Nobody
all right,
stopped
guys, we will be back next week and every week after that for 100 more episodes.
And then no more. We're
Thanks,
exactly
guys.
halfway done through this podcast.
Yeah, this
series.
podcast has reached halfway. All right, guys, see you next week. Michael, hit that button.
Podcast is over.
No, not that button. The stop button.
Podcast is over, it's done. We hope you all had some fun. Go back to your work or your school, maybe the gym. Hey, that's cool. Regardless, just go away.